Hello, I'm Michael Jan B. Estrella from BSEE 3B. Today, I'm going to give a quick report about what we learned in Unit 1, Technopreneurship Wrap-Up. First, let's talk about technology. It's basically the use of scientific knowledge to solve problems and make life easier for people or for society. Next is invention. This means creating something totally new, whether it's product, a process, or a technique that didn't exist before. Then, we have innovation, which is when we take an invention and improve it or make it better. When a new technology is created, it often leads to a new business starting, and managing this kind of business is called entrepreneurship. But when that business uses technology to deliver services, that's what we call technopreneurship. In short, technopreneurship is combining technology and business to help people in a smarter way. Next one is under technopreneurship, highlights, especially about customer pain points. These are specific problems that customer face when dealing with a business. Basically, pain points are problems, plain and simple. One of the most important parts of marketing is knowing what these customer problems are, and then finding a way to solve them. That's how businesses succeed, by offering the right solution. Many marketers don't really understand what the customer actual problem is. Instead, they sometimes mistake the solution as the problem, which leads to confusion and unmet needs. In short, to be good technopreneur, we need to focus first on clearly identifying the real pain points of our customer before offering any kind of solution. In the sketch, we see the difference between pain points versus solution. In the sketch, a marketer will hear someone saying that they need a bandage. So the marketer will present them with a bandage. A great bandage, a bandage that stays on well but doesn't hurt when it's filled up. A bandage that keeps out an infection, a bandage with olaprom on giving the wound a nice warm hug. But the bandage was just the solution, not the pain points. The actual pain point is that the person wants to stop their leg from bleeding. Understanding that as the pain points, the marketing of the solution become very different. The solution could still be a bandage, but it would be one that tightly pulls together the wound to stop the bleeding. It would be a bandage that sticks to skin even if the skin is wet with sweat. The new solution could also be a medical glue that will stop the bleeding immediately. The key is that the solution should address the customer true pain point. The marketing should not be about the product, it should be about the alleviation of the pain points. Innovation comes from understanding true pain points. The slide mentioned a famous quote often linked to Henry Ford. If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Now, this is not about ignoring customer. It's about digging deeper to find the real pain points behind the request. People back then thought faster horses were the solution, but the true pain point was not about horses at all. It was about people wanting to travel faster, easier, and more efficiently. Henry Ford recognized that need and created a new solution, the automobile, instead of just improving horses. Innovation comes from understanding the real problem, not just the obvious solution people ask for. As future innovators, we should always ask, what is the real need here? Because sometimes the answer is not a faster horse. It's creating something entirely new. Identifying pain points. Customer often experience problem, but many times they don't know exactly how to explain what their real pain is. That's why they usually ask for solution right away, instead of stating their true need. This slide gives us a classic example. If a person goes into a hardware store asking for a 1/4 inch drill bit, it seems like that's what they want. But the real pain point is not the drill bit, it's that they need a 1/4 inch hole. This teaches us that to identify pain points, we should ask open-ended questions and follow-up instead of focusing on the picture of the drill bit. We ask, what do you need this for? When we understand the real purpose, then we as expert can provide the best solution. The lesson is clear. Don't just listen to what customers say they want. Find out what they truly need.
Good day to everyone. I'm Bettina Micaela Samson from BSE 3B. And now, we are discussing the pain points versus solutions. When you truly understand the pain points, the real problems your customers face, your whole approach to innovation shifts. You no longer just promote a solution with hype. Instead, you show how your solution directly eases or removes their pain. This changes the way you communicate. You connect with your audience on a deeper level. You build trust because they feel understood. And when people feel understood, they're more likely to engage and believe in what you offer. Next is customer versus end user. Customer, the one who buys the product or service. End user, the one who actually uses it. Sometimes they're the same person. You buy a phone and use it. Other times they're different. Example, a company buys software but employees use it. Why it matters? You need to understand both building, marketing, or selling a product because the buyer and the user may care about different things. Here are the examples. Diapers, the customers are parents, but the end users are babies. Ventilator for hospital and the users are patients. Business softwares, customers are company and the user is employee. Engagement ring, it's always the boy who buys and the user is the girl. Car, customer is the owner, also the end user is the owner. Dog food, customer is the dog owner and the user is the dog. Next, what is stakeholders? A stakeholder is a party that has interest in a company and can either affect or be affected by the business. Stakeholder is any person or group that has an interest or involvement in a business. They can either affect the business or be affected, influence decisions, operations, or be affected by what the business does, like its success, failure, or changes. Here are the examples of the stakeholders. There are internal stakeholders. These are the people inside the company who are directly involved in operations. Examples are employees, managers, or shareholders. They are affected by the company's day-to-day activities and decisions. External stakeholders, these are the people or groups outside the company who are still affected by what the business does. Examples are customers, suppliers, government, community, media, and investors. In short, external inside the company, internal is inside the company, and external outside the company. Both are important in decision making and business strategy. Next, what is an influencer? In business, an influencer is someone who can affect others' decision, especially when it comes to buying products, supporting a brand, or adopting an idea, because of their authority, knowledge, position, or relationship with the audience. These are the types of business influencers: social media influencer, industry experts, key decision makers, thought leaders. Why influencers matter in business? They build trust faster than ads. They can amplify brand awareness. Their recommendation often drive real action or sales.
So, hello, tatako tayo sa customer segments. So, what is customer segments? So, babasahin muna natin is customer segments are different groups of people or organizations your enterprise aims to reach and serve. This includes users who might not generate revenues but which are necessary for the business model to work. So, may mga types tayo ng customer segments, which is mass market, niche market, segmented, diversified, and multi-sided. So, i-explain lang natin ng simple ang customer segments. So, ang customer segments ay yun yung tinatarget yung specific of people and yun yung binibigyan natin sila ng materials which support them, di ba? For their businesses or kung ano yung kailangan nila. No, ang customer segments lang naman is who needs the materials and why they need it. Ngayon, dadako tayo sa mga types of customer segments. So, first is the mass market. So, the word itself, mass market, maramihan. Ngayon, sabihin natin dito, ang products and services which target the mass market segment have a broad appeal and often cover the overall population. And the mass market approach doesn't rely on any segmentation and instead aims to be efficient by treating everyone the same. So dito sa mass market, more on materials lang siya. Hindi niya inaano yung mga kung bakit kailangan nila, basta binibigay lang nila. So they treat everyone the same. So in reality, there are very few companies that do this. Most companies apply at some level of segmentation. So example na lang natin yung construction industry. So using the cement and steel. So 'di ba kailangan nila ng cement? Di bibigay lang natin 'yun. So okay, for building houses syempre and bridges and roads across the country sa ating bansa. Next is niche market. A niche market refers to a specific customer segment with highly defined characteristics. This segment requires a highly tailored product custom-made to suit their needs. Therefore, the value propositions, channels, and customer relationships are tightly defined by the preference of this particular segment. So dito, nagfo-focus siya sa isang specific na market, which is mga specialized group with specific material needs. So for example, yung aircrafts like the aerospace or defense sector, the Philippine Air Force, yun. They use lightweight composite materials or yung mga aircraft parts, yun. So next is segmented market. So dito lang naman, papaigsiin na lang natin is ang segmented market lang naman is yun yung different groups in the same industry. Tapos ginakailangan nila ng mga iba't ibang materials. Magkaiba yung materials na ginagamit nila pero in the same industry. So for example na lang to, yun yung mga gyms. Yung sa mga gym sa market nun. Yung ibang gym may bakal. Yung iba commercial gym. Sa commercial gym, yun, dun yung mga rubberized talaga. Yung iba helix na size na dumbbells. Kaya ganun. Tapos yung mga bakal gym nga. Bakal. So, ibang example naman is the automotive industry sa Pilipinas natin. So, dito yung mga luxury car brands like BMW o yung mga iba pang mga luxury cars, they use carbon fiber parts. Ngayon, sa mga local assembly naman, yung mga kagaya ng mga Mitsubishi, Toyota, they use mostly steel and aluminum para sa kanilang affordability and sustainability. So next natin, diversified. So dito lang naman sa diversified, isang material, pero iba't ibang industries. So for example lang naman is the coconut husk, the core fibers. Sa iba, ginagamit nila, they use in erosion control para sa agriculture. Tapos yung iba naman, they use in car seats and mattresses in manufacturing. So, yun lang naman. Ngayon, last natin is multi-sided platforms or multi-sided markets. Dito lang naman is they need material or technology serving two or more related groups. So, dito lang naman yung halimbawa, yung mga bamboo materials, yung mga furniture makers, ginagamit nila for chairs and tables. Ngayon naman, ang construction companies, they use it for scaffolding or eco-friendly buildings. So, iba't ibang market. Hindi siya iba't ibang industry. Iba't ibang same industry siya, pero sa ibang market siya. And, okay, so next is markets. What is market segmentation? Dadako naman tayo sa market segments. So, in material science engineering, ang market segment is a specific group of customers or industries that use certain materials based on their needs. So dito, halos magkaparehas lang naman ang customer segments and market segments. Dito, nagfo-focus siya sa market. Yeah. So, example na lang natin dito, yung mga construction. They need cement and steel nga para makagawa silang bayan. Tapos yung mga electronics, market segment, they need semiconductors and metals for gadgets and appliance. So dito lang naman din, in simple terms, ang market segment ay kung sino yung kailangan ng material at kung bakit nila kailangan. Kumbaga, feel nila yung gap kung ano yung kailangan nila. So lahat naman dito, lahat naman ng segments dito, kailangan nilang i-fill yung gap. So, thank you.
Po si J. Mark Garcia from EE3B. Ang i-report ko po is type of market segment. Mag-start po tayo sa demographic segmentation. This one of the most popular and commonly used types of market segmentation. It refers to statistical data about a group of people. Example are age, gender, annual income, source of income, occupation, education, and ethnicity. So, sa demographic segmentation, mag-isip tayo ng business. Pwede na siguro dito yung sa Nike, yung Nike stores. Yung Nike store is gumagamit sila ng market segmentation. Bakit? Kasi yung Nike store, kung papansinin natin, nakakagawa sila ng iba't ibang design and iba't ibang size ng mga sapatos. Meron pang bata, pang matanda, pang babae, pang lalaki, and etc. Ang next one natin is psychographic segmentation. Yung psychographic segmentation naman, categorize audience and customer by factors that relate to their personalities and characteristics. Example are personality, values, attitude, interest, lifestyle, motivation, and priorities. So, pwede sa type na to is yung Starbucks. Sa Starbucks kasi is pinagsisilbihan yung mga tao na will value the entire coffee shop experience na hindi lamang sa kape nila or sa mismong kape niya. Starbucks create a welcoming atmosphere with comfortable seating, free wifi, and variety of beverage and snacks. So, yun nga. Pwede, pero bigay pa tayo ng isang example like yung kay Bea Bores. Di ba si Bea Bores naman, nag-i-endorse siya ng beauty milk na iinumin mo yung gatas na yon para pumuti ka or mag-glow up. Then next one is behavioral segmentation. While demographic and psychographic segmentation focus on who a customer is, behavioral segmentation focuses on how the customer acts on product. Example are purchasing habits, spending time, brand interaction. So, example natin dito is yung mga babae. Example is yung Get Ready With Me na makeup brand. Kapag naglalabas ng bagong makeup yung Get Ready With Me, na-intriga yung mga babae, kaya bibili sila nito para matry. Kasi yung brand na yun, kilala and trusted ng mga babae pagdating sa makeup. Next one is geographic segmentation. Geographic segmentation is the simplest type of market segmentation. It categorizes customers based on geographic location. Example are country, province, city, barangay, streets, radius around a certain location, climate, and urban or rural. So, example natin dito is yung Mang Inasal. 'Di ba yung Mang Inasal may mga ino-offer silang menu na merong local taste like palabok, barbecue, and then yung lechong manok nga. Oh, next slide tayo. Dito sa slide na to. Is it important for the customer to be informed first of the benefit they would get upon buying a product or services from an enterprise, or no need for that since every buyer obviously knows the purpose of why or of what they are buying. Nandito ako ah. Kung kayo ang tatanungin, ano isasagot nyo? Ako kasi oo. 'Di ba uso na ngayon yung mga online shopping like TikTok, Lazada, Shopee, and marami pang iba. Siyempre, bago ka bumili, titignan mo muna yung mga reviews kung maganda. Oo, bibili nila yon kasi alam nilang gamitin, 'di ba? Pero hindi nila alam kung durable ba siya or long lasting ba siya or hindi. So, next slide tayo. Dito naman tayo sa sinabi ni Henry Ford. A man who stopped advertising to save money is like a man who stopped the clock to save time. So, tama naman yung sinabi niya, di ba? So, sino ba naman kasing businessman ang magtitipid sa sarili niyang business, di ba? So, pwede natin dito siguro i-example yung mga halaman. So, lahat naman siguro tayo naka-experience na magtanim ng halaman. Like yung halamang gulay, di ba? So, pag tinipid natin siya sa dilig, sa alaga, konti yung ibibigay niyang bunga. May chance pa nga na mamatay siya, 'di ba? Which is yung pagbagsak niya. So, parang ganun din sa business. Pag tinitipid natin siya, mahirapan tayong kumuha ng malaking income or mahirapan tayong magkaroon ng kita. So, pwede din nating i-example yung ginagawa ng Mountain Dew. Kasi 'di ba may contract sila na for example, 1 year sila Kong, Juni at Ninong Rai, yung mga vlogger. Yung mag-advertise ng Mountain Dew. Mga influencers and vloggers sila na maraming fans and supporter. Since yung mga yun nga, marami silang supporter, ang tendency is may engage yung mga supporters nila na bilin yung ini-endorse nila, 'di ba? Okay na.
Hi guys, I'm Cyrus Reyes Dueño. And for the quote one, Stuart Hudson Britt, doing business without advertising is like winking at a girl in the dark. You know what you are doing, but nobody else does. Imagine this, you're running a business but you never promote it. No ad, no social media, nothing. And it's like winking at someone in the dark. You know what you're doing, but nobody else does. The message is simple. You need to advertise. The next slide is from Milan Kundera. Business has only two functions, marketing and innovation. This means a successful business focuses on two main things. Marketing, letting know, letting people know about your product or service and convincing them to choose it. And innovation, always improving the creating new ideas. Combining this helps your business grow and stay competitive. And for the third slide, Leo Burnett. Make it simple, make it memorable, make it inviting to look at, make it fun to read. This one is about making effective advertisement. Keep it simple so people understand quickly. Make it memorable so they won't forget it. Make it inviting so it grabs attention. And fun so people enjoy it. And fourth slide, quotes from Bill Gates. The internet is becoming the town square for the global and village of tomorrow. In the past, people gather in a town square to share news and connect. Today, the internet has become the place, but now it connects the whole world. It allows people to share ideas, communicate, and do business. In the future, it will play an even bigger role in bringing people together. The value proposition. A value proposition is a simple statement that summarizes why customers would choose your product or service. It communicates the clearest benefit that customers receive by giving you their business. So a value proposition is a short statement that explains why customers should choose your product or service. Um, it shows the main benefits they get when they decided to buy from you or work with you. And next is a value proposition can be presented as a business or marketing statement that a company uses to summarize why a customer should buy a product or use a service. A value proposition is also used as a business or marketing statement. It helps companies explain in a simple way why customers should buy their product or use their service. It's a clear way to show the value that the customer will receive.
Unit 3. The value proposition. Your business value proposition is arguably the most important element of your overall marketing messaging. A value proposition tells prospects why they should do business with you rather than your competitors and makes the benefits of your products or services crystal clear from the outset. So, ang value proposition ay parang pangako o dahilan kung bakit dapat piliin ng customer ang negosyo mo kaysa sa iba. Isa ito sa pinakaimportanteng bahagi ng marketing dahil dito mo ipapaliwanag agad kung anong makukuha nilang benepisyo o kagandahan sa produkto o serbisyo mo. Para bang sinasabi mo sa mga customer, ito yung dahilan kung bakit mas okay sa amin kaysa sa iba. At kailangan maliwanag agad sa umpisa pa lang kung ano ang mga benepisyong iyon. Halimbawa, kung nagbebenta ka ng milk tea, hindi sapat na masarap lang ito, baka dapat mo ring ipakita na mas mura, mas malinis, o mas mabilis i-deliver kaysa sa ibang tindahan. Yun ang value proposition mo. Next is the value proposition definition in layman's term. The value proposition pertains to the benefits that customers would get upon buying a product as promised by the company who owns it. It is actually a statement which serves as a window for the consumer to see clearly what a certain brand could offer and its advantages over other competitors. And for it to be clearly seen by customers, this is where advertisement comes into play. So, ang value proposition ay tungkol sa mga benepisyong makukuha ng customer kapag bumili sila ng produkto mula sa isang kumpanya. Parang pangako ito ng negosyo kung ano ang maibibigay nilang halaga o kagandahan sa produkto o serbisyo nila. Isa itong pahayag na nagsisilbing bintana para makita ng customer kung ano ang kaya nilang i-offer na wala sa iba. At bakit mas may advantage sila kaysa sa mga kompetensya nila at para mas madaling mapansin ito ng mga customer, ginagamit ang advertisement o mga patalastas para makita nila ang mga benepisyong yon. Halimbawa, kung ang brand ng shampoo ay nangakong tanggal balakubak sa isang hugas, yun ang value proposition nila. Kapag nakita mo yon sa TV o online advertisement, ibig sabihin gumagana ang advertisement para makita ng customer ang pangakong benepisyo ng produkto. Next is the value proposition historical backgrounds. So, dito sa historical backgrounds, the phrase value proposition is credited to Michael Lanning and Edward Michaels, who first used the term in 1988 staff paper for the consulting firm McKinsey & Co. In the paper, which was titled A Business is a Value Delivery System, the authors defined value proposition as a clear, simple statement of the benefits, both tangible and intangible, that the company will provide along with the approximate price it will charge each customer segment for those benefits. Ayon dito, unang ginamit ang salitang value proposition noong 1988 ng dalawang tao na sina Michael Lanning at Edward Michaels. Sa isang paper nila para sa McKinsey & Co., ang pamagat ng paper nila ay A Business is a Value Delivery System. Sa madaling salita, sinasabi nila na ang negosyo ay parang sistema ng paghatid ng value o halaga sa customers. Sabi rin nila na dapat malinaw kung ano ang benepisyo na ibinibigay ng kumpanya at magkano ang sisingilin para doon sa bawat klase ng customer. Next is the value proposition, tangible and intangible benefits. First is tangible benefits. Tangible benefits are those that can be measured in financial terms, while intangible benefits cannot be quantified directly in economic terms. These benefits include customer satisfaction. So, sinasabi dito, yung tangible benefits o nahawakang benepisyo ay yung mga kayang sukatin gamit ang pera. Halimbawa, tumaas ang kita ng isang negosyo dahil sa isang bagong produkto o serbisyo. Malinaw na pwedeng masukat kung magkano ang kinita. Samantalang yung intangible benefits naman, ito yung mga benepisyo na hindi mo agad-agad masusukat gamit ang pera. Hindi siya agad makita sa financial records pero mahalaga pa rin. Isang example nito ay customer satisfaction o kasiyahan ng customer. Hindi man natin agad makwenta kung magkano ang halaga nun. Malaking tulong ito sa business sa long term. Next is, so ayun nga, sa kahit anong project o negosyo, may project benefits o mga benepisyong makukuha mula sa proyekto. Nahati ito sa dalawang klase, tangible benefits at intangible benefits. First is tangible benefits. Ito yung mga benepisyong kayang masukat sa pera o numero, kaya na sinabi ko kanina. Pwedeng ipakita sa accounting or financial reports. Narito ang halimbawa ng mga tangible benefits. Una ay increased revenue. Dito tumataas ang kita o benta. Next is resource cost savings. Nakatipid o gamit sa resources tulad ng kuryente, oras, tao. Hardware cost savings. Nabuwasan ang gastos sa hardware o physical equipment. Next is software cost savings. Mas mura o nababawasan ang gastos sa software Next is productivity gain. Mas dumami ang output o mas mabilis ang trabaho. Next is process improvements. Mas naging maayos at efficient ang mga proseso. Next is intangible benefits naman tayo. Dito naman yung mga benepisyong hindi agad masukat sa pera pero sobrang mahalaga pa rin. Narito ang enhanced user experience. Mas naging maganda at maginhawa ang experience ng mga gumagamit. Next is increased customer satisfaction. Mas naging masaya o satisfied ang mga customers at ang increased compliance. Mas nasusunod ang mga batas, rules o standards naman. Sa brand equity naman ay mas lumakas o gumanda ang pangalan ng brand sa mata ng tao. So in summary, bilang sa akin, estudyante, yung tangible kita agad sa kita o gastos. Yung intangible hindi agad kita sa pera pero long term maganda rin epekto, lalo na sa customer at sa brand. Sa pahayag na no one ever got rich working 9 to 5. Ang ibig sabihin lang naman nito ay hindi ka yayaman kung aasa ka lang sa regular na trabaho na 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Kadalasan, yung mga nagiging mayaman ay yung may sariling negosyo o side hustle. Itinuturo sa technopreneurship na dapat maging entrepreneur ka, hindi lang empleyado, para mas lumawak ang kita at oportunidad. Halimbawa, kung gusto mong yumaman, hindi sapat na magtrabaho lang araw-araw. Kailangan mo rin siyempre mag-isip ng paraan kung paano kikita kahit wala ka sa opisina tulad ng online business, investment o innovation. And last is Risk comes from not knowing what you are doing. Sinasabi dito, ang ibig sabihin nito ay nagiging risky o delikado lang ang isang bagay kapag hindi mo alam ang ginagawa mo. Kung may sapat kang kaalaman, plano at understanding sa isang bagay, tulad ng negosyo, investment o kahit anong project, mas mababa ang tsansa na pumalpak ka. Pero kung bara-bara ka lang at wala kang alam dun sa ginagawa mo, dun parang pumapasok yung pagiging risky. Halimbawa, kung papasok ka sa isang business nang hindi mo naintindihan ng market o produkto mo, malaki ang chance na malugi ka. Pero kung pinag-aralan mo, gumawa ka ng business plan at may mentor ka, mas prepared ka at mas konti ang risk. Kaya dito, sinasabi dito, aralin muna bago sumabak. Walang masama sa risk, pero dapat calculated ang risk, hindi bara-bara. Yun lamang po.